Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here at your meeting to see this beautiful oceanside, bayside facility. Someone offered to drive me in their speedboat across to my daughter who lives on the other side on Long Island. I didn't know I was so close to home, but I'm going to fly there tomorrow. I want to thank those here who support our work. So many of you come up to me tonight and say that you send a check every year to the Southern Poverty Law Center. That makes our work possible. And Judge, if you want to change venues and come down to Alabama, we could use you. I mean, it would be total heresy for a judge in Alabama to speak to a group of trial lawyers like you just spoke to this group. Probably get recused out of every case he ever tried. But we are going through some tough times in that respect in Alabama. But you said something I think is important. You said that you're proud to be a lawyer. I want you all to take this program home with you and keep it. Keep this program because one day it may be a souvenir. Recently, I was asked to speak to an organization, and I told my secretary to make me a reservation because I was going to go speak to the American Association of Justice. And she said, "What is that?" Well, I'm proud that you aren't ashamed of being a lawyer and a trial lawyer, because jury trials conducted by lawyers are a fundamental part of our American heritage. You may not know it, but over 90% of the criminal trials in the world are conducted by juries in the United States, or jury trials, I should say. And almost all the civil trials in the world are conducted with jury trials in the United States. It's a particular, unique American institution. And we didn't get this by accident. It's something about the founding of this country that brought this to be. We had a lawyer before this nation was even a country of its own, before it was the United States, that set a great example of being a courageous trial lawyer, as well as validating the acquittal that he obtained, having it validated by a jury verdict. The year was 1773 or 4, I think, not too far from here in Boston, Massachusetts, when a ship captain, maybe coming down this very water behind us here, brought his boat in, filled full of wine from Madeira, Spain, and his boat was seized by the British Redcoat taxing authorities. He was arrested, the boat was taken, and this captain was thrown in jail. The lawyer who represented him, young John Hancock, was able to, maybe through, I'm not sure why, but maybe his skill as a lawyer, and maybe because the British taxing officials were somewhat concerned about this budding revolution, maybe they had their fingers in the wind, and so he was acquitted. His boat was returned to him, and he was released from jail. The name of the boat was Miss Liberty, and the captain and owner of that boat was none other than John Hancock. Young John Adams was very successful as a young lawyer, and an incident happened in downtown Boston that really put him to the test as a lawyer and as a trial lawyer. A group of citizens were protesting taxation without representation and other things, about 200 or 300 or 400, and they were throwing rocks and bottles at the policemen. They were the redcoats, policemen of the day. And the redcoats there, fearing for their lives and had been hit by a few bricks, shot into the crowd and killed a couple of those incidents, of those protesters. And you all know this as the Boston Massacre. Well, the governor of the Providence figured that he had better quell the anger of the mob, so he got his prosecutor to indict Captain Preston and those soldiers. He thought maybe that the lawyers working at big companies that represented the king's business and other things would quickly volunteer to represent Captain Preston and these 8 soldiers, but they all had a convenient conflict of interest. Maybe they had their fingers in the wind. Well, the king, governor was appointed there, sent for John Adams and said, Mr. Adams, you have a good reputation as a trial lawyer, and would you represent these soldiers? And Mr. Adams says, well, I'll let you know. And he went and talked to his friends, especially Samuel Adams, his cousin, who had the militia group, and they said, man, you'd be a fool to take this case. You're going to be a leader in this government we're going to set up here. Don't touch this case. You're too popular with the right people. Adams took the case, and he put on a good defense in front of a jury of peers there in Boston. And the Captain Preston and his 8 soldiers were acquitted using defense of self-defense. And Adams wrote, I was reading something not long ago, Adams, a historian at least, wrote that his brilliant summation revealed his awareness of the potential political and personal risk for him taking this highly unpopular case. But he declared that if he could save only one life, the blessings and tears of that one person would be for him sufficient consolation for the contempt of the masses. And Adams, in his own autobiography, wrote that his defense of Captain Preston and the 8 British soldiers was the best piece of service that he ever rendered his country. And you know that it didn't affect his popularity. He became the 2nd president and later Secretary of State. But it wasn't just his defense of Captain Preston that was important. It was the jury verdict that validated that not guilty results that came from that, the jury's verdict. Because had it been left up to a prosecutor and a judge who had no jury, probably Captain Preston and the soldiers surely would have been found not guilty. But this trial lawyer, with the courage that so many of our trial lawyers have, took it before a jury of peers, not a jury chosen by the prosecutor and not somebody with a black robe sitting behind the bench that was judge, jury, and executioner, and got a verdict, and the public understood that verdict. I'm sure all of you know that the slogan that's attributed to Shakespeare from King Henry VI is flagrantly misquoted. When on so many T-shirts, and I've seen even lawyers wear them, it says, first, you must kill all the lawyers. And I know you Shakespeare scholars in this room know what Henry VI was really saying there was, if tyranny is to prevail, you must first kill all the lawyers. And I think you could also write, first, you must eliminate jury trials as well as kill all the lawyers. Today we have tyrants who are just as evil and vindictive as King George. The issues range all over the place, from how we're treating Latino migrants in this company, how large corporations are using the guest worker program to turn these migrants into virtual slaves. We see medicine sold on television as if you were selling candy, M&Ms, that kill people. We see payday loan companies. I don't know if you have them up here, but we sure have